Hi everybody. Today we are talking about cheese. One of the main reasons that I was a vegetarian for 16 years and not a vegan was that I did not think that I could live without cheese. Probably though a more accurate statement would be that I didn't want to live without cheese. But when I decided that I did want to live without cheese, about 4 months ago now, I went to the internet to read a little bit about this cheese addiction I kept hearing about, and also to see what other vegans were doing to replace it. So some interesting things that I found out about cheese is that it has a protein called casein that when broken down in our stomachs produces a peptide called casomorphine, which is a natural opioid. And that's where the suggestion comes from that it is addictive. Others will argue that that's too small of an amount and that actually what we're addicted to is just the greasy, cheesy flavor. So either way, it was interesting. Some other interesting things that I read is that they are possibly linking this casein to baby apnea and autism. So if those are subjects or topics that you're concerned about or interested in, I suggest that you look that up online. There's a lot of interesting articles. Also, this casomorphine is a natural histamine releaser, which is why so many people are allergic to cheese and dairy products. So I thought that was interesting. So whether you need to be dairy-free or choose to be dairy-free, or are just looking for a new, fun, delicious, homemade alternative to that expensive block of cheese, I think you're going to enjoy this recipe today. It is Chipotle Nacho Cheese, vegan style. So let's just get started. It's going to look like it's a lot of ingredients, but it's really all things that you're going to be familiar with, except for maybe one, which I'll explain. So what we want to do to get started, all you're going to need is one pot. This one is borderline too small, so if you have one a little bit bigger, it might be better, but you just need one good-sized saucepan and a blender. We're only going to need to boil 3 things. So what you want to start with is the carrots, because they're going to need to cook a little bit longer than the bell peppers and the potatoes that I'm going to dice up. So 1 cup of carrots, diced pretty small. I'm talking about 1/4 inch cubes. So I'm going to put this in the pan. Now I'm going to cover it with a good amount of water because I want enough in there that's also going to be able to accommodate the potato and the red bell pepper. So I'm going to fill it more than halfway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these carrots to a boil. I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. Then I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes. While that's cooking, I would have chopped up my 1 cup of red bell peppers, diced pretty small, and I'm going to peel and cube a potato about 1/2 inch cubes, 2.5 cups worth. And then after that 5 minutes, I'm going to add both of those to the water, bring it back to a boil, down to a simmer, and then set the timer for 10 more minutes. You see the carrots are going to need that extra amount. After the 10 minutes, we're going to strain them and then add them to what we're already going to have in the blender. So I'll be back after I do all of that. So while our carrots, potatoes, and red bell peppers are simmering on the stove, we're going to get everything else in the blender and ready to go. Now, probably the hardest part about this recipe is remembering to soak your cashews overnight. Now, I'll talk about that in a minute if you forget to do that. But so you want to use a 1/2 cup of raw cashews. You can also just use the lightly salted ones because you're going to soak them overnight preferably and then rinse and drain them. I really haven't noticed any difference between using either one. So use what you have. So you need a 1/2 cup of cashews soaked overnight and rinsed. If you forget, you can put boiling water over them, cover them, and let them sit for a few hours. I have tried even once putting them in the water with the carrots, potatoes, and red bell peppers, and that worked okay, but I really do like the consistency better if I remember to soak them overnight. So 1/2 cup of soaked cashews, 1/2 cup of water. Now, depending on your blender, you may need to add a little bit more water when you're blending, and that's okay. If you have a blender that has these blades that go all the way up, you probably won't need to. So 1/2 cup of water, then we're going to add 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. Now this might be the new ingredient for you in this recipe, possibly. I've tried 2 different brands. One I just got off of Amazon. This Bragg's brand you can get just at just about any grocery store. It's in the seasoning section. They're both good. I think I prefer the flavor of the Bragg's one a little bit better. Now, nutritional yeast is a yeast. It's a fungi. The difference is it's not active. Because of the drying process that they do, it's not active. It's grown on cane molasses, and it has no candida in it. I know some people are concerned with that with yeast. So it's sugar-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, and kosher. It also has a lot of vitamin B12, which is really good for your nervous system. Vegans need to make sure that they get that. And a lot of other vitamins and minerals, as well as folic acid. So it's a really good, healthy, it's kind of an odd-smelling, cheesy ingredient, but it's great to add to anything that you want a cheesy flavor to. So I'm still experimenting with that. I'm sure we'll learn new things as we go with that. So that's nutritional yeast. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of that. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of grapeseed oil. I'm using grapeseed oil because it's just a mild, good, healthy oil. You can use any vegetable oil that you like to use that's mild in flavor. Just don't use olive oil. It will change the flavor. So 1/4 cup. 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. And if you remember from other videos, I recommend anytime you get your hands on good fresh lemons or can buy them in bulk, juice them, freeze them in your ice cube trays, and then put them in Ziploc bags. So you'll always have little cubes of fresh lemon juice when you need them for recipes. So 1 tablespoon, 1 chipotle pepper. And if you don't have these in your pantry, you want to buy these cans of chipotle peppers. I open them, put them in a canning jar in my fridge, so they're always available. They add some heat, but a real smoky flavor too. And I always test the end of it, check for a stem, and just pull that off if it has it. Make sure to rinse your hands if you've touched it. So 1 large chipotle pepper. If you're worried about it being too spicy, you can leave that out, put it in at the end, as well as the sriracha sauce, taste it, and then add those 2 things later if you're concerned about it. But it really isn't that spicy. It just adds a really nice smokiness to it. It's really delicious. This recipe is written so that it can easily be cut in half. So instead of 1 large pepper, just use a smaller one. 2 cloves of diced garlic, 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. You can use any white vinegar. I've done rice wine vinegar, white wine vinegar, and apple cider vinegar, all fine. So whatever you have in your pantry. And then in here, I've got 1 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of cracked pepper, and a 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. Partly for the color, but partly because I'm always trying to get turmeric in anything that I can. It's really good for inflammation, so get that in there. I'm going to go ahead and add my 1 teaspoon of sriracha sauce because I know I want it. You can add that at the end if you're not too sure, or whatever hot sauce you like. So about 1 teaspoon or more. And we're ready to go. So as soon as our potatoes, carrots, and bell peppers are done simmering, I'm going to strain them, add them to the blender, and we're just going to blend it up and we're done. So I'll be right back with that. So I'm going to add the drained vegetables to our blender. Try to get them all in there. I'm going to put the lid on, but I'm going to leave the little spout open because of the steam and heat. I don't want it blowing the top off. All right, so I'm just going to blend this for a few minutes until it's really smooth. And stopping a couple of times to scrape down the sides. I'm already dreaming about all the things I'm going to put it on. I actually think I'm going to add a little bit of water. It looks a little bit thick. Maybe about a 1/4 cup. Okay, that's looking pretty creamy. Smells really good. And see what a beautiful color. That's because of the bell peppers and the nutritional yeast and the turmeric. Okay, let me get a pretty little bowl to put it in and then give it a taste test. So it's all finished. It's a real creamy consistency. Smells really good. Look at that. It will thicken up when it gets in the fridge, but then when you reheat it in the microwave, it gets nice and creamy again. I usually would keep it in the fridge for maybe 3 to 4 days. Doesn't that just look like nacho cheese? I love it. It smells so good. So I'm going to put some on the steamed broccoli. That's one way that you can use it and give it a taste. I also wanted to tell you something I do too that isn't necessary, but it makes things look pretty and fun, is when I'm putting this cheese on some things as a topper, which I'll go through some ideas for that. I'll sometimes put it in spoon some into a little sandwich bag, a Ziploc sandwich bag, and just snip off the little corner so that you can make a really pretty, stream of it on top of things. It just looks prettier than this. So try that sometime. Kids love it. So let me give it a try. It's really good. It tastes like nacho cheese. I think you're going to be really surprised. It does have a little bit of smokiness from the chipotle. I can taste the spicy just a little bit, but not very much at all. So just add what you think at first, but I think you'll see that you're going to want to add that whole pepper and hot sauce. So this is a great idea to use it with on broccoli. Some of the other things that I love to use this Chipotle Nacho Cheese on is a bean dip. I mix some of this cheese and some salsa with some vegetarian refried beans, nachos, regular just plain chips and cheese, enchiladas, baked potatoes, that's a really good one. I make cubed rosemary potatoes and drizzle that on top, hot dogs, crunch wraps, macaroni and cheese, potatoes au gratin. I think you get the idea. Just about anything that you would normally put cheese on. It's really good. So it makes about 4 cups worth of this cheese. You can cut the recipe in half easily, but just think, you can make this on Sunday and you can be set for almost your whole week of easy weeknight meals using this cheese on something. So thanks for watching. I hope you'll give it a try. If you like our videos, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, check out our website, noboneslife.com. We've redone the whole website. You'll find all of our videos and recipes and all kinds of fun products and t-shirts. We'll see you next time.